Hi, welcome to Informed, Politics and Beyond. I'm normally with Matt Stevens. He's away campaigning with Richard Tice in the old Bexley and Sidcup by-election. So I'm left here to hold a fort, so to speak. And today I'm delighted to welcome as my special guest, Anthony Goodwin. He was the Ealing and Hillingdon Reform candidate in the London Assembly elections last May. Now I want to ask you some questions before we move on. At the last general election, you got stood down in Sevenoaks, is that right?
That's right.
That must have been a great disappointment for you.
Well, it was, but at the time that we all signed up for the Brexit party, they did say, and Nigel Farage was very clear about this, that it was going to be country before party.
Right.
And that if we needed to do some things that were tactical to get Brexit done at the time, then we would. So yes, I was chomping at the bit. I really wanted to take on the Conservatives in Sevenoaks, and would have loved the opportunity, John, to really go for it. But they had a 22,000 majority. I think I could have eaten into that quite significantly, if not overturned it. Actually, maybe I'm being a bit too optimistic here. Who knows? But that's how optimistic we feel, I think, as Reform, as a party. But so going back to your question. Do I feel that I was stood down and it wasn't the right thing to do? No, I don't. And do I think Reform are going to stand down anybody? No, they're definitely not. It's a different set of circumstances. Yeah. It's a different party. We're doing different things. So we're a new entity, and as such, we've got a new political party and we've got new objectives.
Of course, you got 5% of the votes in Hillingdon. A great achievement. How do you
Thank
do
you
it?
very much, John.
How did you do it?
Thank you very much, John. I'm really pleased with that because I'll be honest, I could have done more. I could have done more door knocking. I know you, for example, were incredible in terms of your leaflet drops and your door knocking and your support that you had locally here in Bermondsey, was it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I did my canvassing and I did my leaflet dropping. And I did with Richard and the team, Matt Stevens, Mark Simpson. It was a good effort from everybody. But now that I got 5%, I feel I should have done more. It's like doing your exam. You're thinking, you get a B plus, and you think you could have got an A. And the other factor maybe is that it was Boris Johnson's constituency. And maybe it was a protest vote, because I think I did get out of the Reform candidates for the London Assembly, I think I got one of the highest percentages, and that wasn't because of me necessarily. I think it's because of the Reform Party and because of the fact that people were fed up with Boris.
I mean, what are your current aspirations politically? Are you going to run in the local elections next May, or are you looking further ahead to the next general election?
Yeah, good question. I've been out campaigning in Old Bexley and Sidcup with Richard and the great team that we've got. I think we've got over 40 canvassers and volunteers that are helping us do that, at least. And I believe we're on a wave, a confluence of change. Mm-hmm. People don't want same old. I was knocking on doors Sunday week, and the impression I got was that people don't want to vote for Tories or Labour. They want something different.
Something new.
And that's what Reform is offering.
Of course.
People.
Yeah. It's not the same old, same old.
So coming back to your question, I'm looking at next year's London Council elections, and I'm looking at running for Member of Parliament for the Reform Party, for wherever the team feel that I'll be best suited. I'd love to take on Sevenoaks again.
Yeah, same here. I've been told that I'd be a very strong local candidate. So
I'm sure you would. No one works harder than you, John. I've seen you. I've seen you do it, and obviously Liz and all your team. It's really good. It's really inspiring to see it, actually.
Okay. What advice do you have for anyone considering running in the local elections or becoming a parliamentary candidate or volunteering even?
We, as I said earlier, are in a situation in politics in the UK where people are fed up, and even people who don't normally get involved in politics want to follow reform. So if you are at all fed up with what you hear on the news every day, then contact reformuk.co.uk. Get in touch with us, help us out. We need as much help as anyone can give to us. We can't do it all on our own. It's a team effort, and we are changing. Things are changing.
Yeah, because that's the advantage for all the big parties. They've already got loads of volunteers in. We need to get our own volunteers in, I feel.
Totally. And this, we're not going to reform the government. We're not going to reform public sector, public services. We're not going to reform the tax system unless we all get involved. And that's what brought me into politics at a relatively tender age of late 50s. We won't talk about that. Is the fact that things are changing, and we can change it if we do something about it. So please do, anybody who's considering it, get in contact with us, because we're a great team.
You've been out canvassing with my co-presenter Matt Stevens in Vaccine Sick Cup. How's the reaction been to the Reform Party and Richard Tice from the residents? And what policies do you think are appealing to the residents there?
Well, that's really good question, because people, when you knock on the door, are reticent to come and talk to you about politics unless there's really something that's getting on their nerves. It's normally a negative thing.
Yeah.
And what we've noticed is there are so many negative things that are going on right now that more and more people are coming to the door. Instead of saying, I vote Labour, I vote Conservative, I'm not going to change, Liberal, Democrat, maybe it'd be 1 or 2 out of 1,000. I'm not going to change. People want to engage us. People want to talk to us.
Yeah.
And I think it was the research that you did recently with Matt that showed that people hadn't had their doors knocked for ages. No one's been talking to them. No one's been engaging them. And that's what they want. And that's what we're finding.
That's fine. You need to stay noticed. Even that's the thing that got into my head as well, is that after the London elections, feedback I was getting from people was that we only see you at election time or when you want something. They want to see people a lot more often.
Yeah, no, for sure. And it really is a case right now of people are fed up with the politics that's coming down us in the news channel, particularly the BBC and Sky. They're not giving us the news, they're giving us an opinion. And we're being told that this is the right opinion to have. And people aren't stupid. Richard Tice is saying that on the doorsteps, listen to the people, because they know in their insides what is going. There's something wrong, and what we're feeling is that people know there's something wrong and want to do something about it. And so again, let's get some volunteers. John and I started this a couple of years ago, really. So we need as much help as we can get from everybody.
Of course. Do you think the recent allegations of cash for peerages, illegal lobbying and various indiscretions will have an impact on how people are going to vote in the upcoming by-elections or even the local London elections next May? There were reports at the weekend that said that Tories have taken a hit in the latest poll. Although I don't look too much into polls, they can change all the time. Yeah. The only one that really counts is the exit poll on election night, maybe. What do you think?
I think that people have had enough. This Tory government is full of inconsistencies. It's full of lies.
U-turns.
It's full of U-turns. They're flip-flopping. They don't know what they're doing, and that comes across in spades. And people know that there's something wrong with them. I will say, though, from a British politician's point of view, I think we are the least corrupt political system in the world. I think we've got some of the most honest, hard-working politicians anywhere. But unfortunately, the leadership and the cabinet don't reflect all those hard-working politicians, and that's why we've got to change it. That's why we've got to reform it.
Following on from the cash for peerages argument, surely this gives ammunition to the people who say why parties such as Reform want to abolish the Lords. I mean, Claire Fox has been quite open about, even though she's in the House of Lords, while she's there, she will do what she can from the inside, but she'd prefer to see the Lords abolished.
Of course. I mean, the Lords is anti-democratic. It's like the EU, you know, Ursula von der Leyen. Why have we got a president of 400 million people, or just under, who was voted in by one block vote? And now she seems to be getting more and more power. With the House of Lords, we've got a second house which can stop legislation going through, and none of them have been elected. So it's simple, it's anti-democratic, so it has to be changed to a democratic system. So it has to go, and Claire has been a big advocate of that. Even at our conference, she said that we should be more extreme in our view, that we shouldn't just want to reform it, we should abolish it. Those were her words. So yes, let's do that, because it's elitist, it's anti-democratic, and it doesn't work. It just doesn't work.
Okay, why do we try to stay away from identity politics?
Because that's another thing that makes people fed up. And identity politics means that you cannot have an opinion on what your friends want to do or say if they happen to be Chinese, South Asian, Black, American, French, German. You can't say, well, my German friends would say this, or my Chinese friends would say that, or my South Asian friends would say this, and my Southeast Asian friends would say that, because they say you can't speak for them. And what identity politics does is it divides us. That's all it does.
Yes, yes.
It splits us up into smaller and smaller groups and divides us. And instead,
it's divide and conquer, isn't it?
It's totally divide and conquer. And what we want is, we want to be together on values. You know, it's all about systems and values. Yeah. And what the Reform Party is representing is people like us that aren't career politicians,
of course,
but
just normal people
who have a value system which says that this country is a fantastic country. We're delighted that it's now independent from Ursula von der Leyen and others, and we don't have the problems that Poland has got with the EU at the moment, or Hungary. We can do our own thing, and you know, that's why we don't want to be involved in identity politics, because we don't want to split the UK down into its 300 different ethnic mixes just in London. There's 300 languages are spoken in London today. Yeah. So why would you want to get involved in identity politics? Yes, it's annoying. Yes, we will have to grasp it. Yes, we don't like wokeism. No. We want the police preventing crime and catching criminals, and not being involved in, you know, this ludicrous. What was that sign? It's okay to be white, and they've opened a race hate crime against that poster. It's okay to be white. We don't want to get involved in that, but we will have to address it once we get into Parliament, as we will.
Mind you, they are bringing the Insulate Britain people to court. I think about 9 have been. I understand about 9 people were being arrested today.
Jail today, which is, it has to be good news, doesn't it? You know, again, they were breaking the law. What amazed me about that,
blocking
John?
the Queen's Highway.
What? Yeah, but again, the ludicrous situation there was that the police had to go to the court to get an injunction from them sitting in the road. Now, you know, I'm not an expert in the law, but I would have thought sitting in the road was already an offence.
Oh yeah.
So why do they have to go to court to get an injunction? And this is why I've joined the Reform Party, because for me, the Reform Party is the party for sensible people with common sense.
That's right.
And it's obvious that these jokers were doing something which is illegal. So why do we then have to go and get a court injunction to say, oh, it's doubly illegal to do that? But no, it's great that they've gone to jail, and that's the right thing. I'm pleased it happened.
I mean, I'd like to know, as I'm sure with the viewers, what your views are regarding COP26. I mean, the hypocrisies off the scale with these people. I mean, should the royal family be getting involved in politics publicly? The Queen never made her views known like this before. She always kept a neutral view. What impact do you think the boiler ban, electric cars will have for ordinary people? I mean, the cost is out of reach for most normal people. And do you think there should be a referendum on net zero policies, or as Richard Tice calls it, net stupid?
Well, a lot of questions in there, John, and they're all good ones. First of all, nobody wants to destroy the environment.
No,
unless you're a gangster and you're illegally getting rid of waste, which does happen, by the way. We all, surely, to greater or lesser extent, want to preserve this fantastic planet we live on.
Yeah.
So the overall objectives are wonderful, but the way we're going about it is laughable. You know, the fact that they all took private... How many private planes were at COP26? And the carbon emissions and the toxicity of that environment. And I did see diesel generators parked up outside to keep the air conditioning at the right temperature for all our great leaders and so on. And obviously they've got to do a certain amount of that you've got to accept. But it's definitely a net stupid. The net zero is net zero. Richard Tice is completely right. And what we want to do is, instead of sending all those jobs over to China, thousands of them, if not hundreds of thousands, instead of getting other countries' scientists and research and development people working on this, we want to work on it. We want to create, let's change the world for the better, and let's do it in the UK for the better, but let's use UK ingenuity, UK engineers and scientists and research people and entrepreneurs to do it. Let's create employment. You see, what people forget when they try and change the world is that they're getting rid of people's jobs at the same time. Yeah. And what Reform recognise is that we want to maintain, if not increase, the amount of jobs that are available to people, good jobs too.
Of course.
And that's why I completely agree with Richard Tice, and I'm sure you do too, that net zero that takes jobs and industry out of the UK is net stupid.
Yeah.
I mean, it makes sense. Keep it here.
Exactly.
Do it properly. Do it in a way that creates employment for people in the UK.
As you know, I've been campaigning with various anti-LTN campaigning groups. Now, Ealing is one of the boroughs that has listened to residents and consulted regarding LTNs. As I understand it, councils were not instructed specifically to install LTNs. They chose to implement that measure. The aim was for social distancing and to make walking and cycling easier. Can you tell the viewers what is happening in that regard where you are, and why you think LTNs don't work?
Well, LTNs is another good idea that's been badly implemented. Of course we want cleaner air. Of course we want lower emissions.
No one's saying.
Of course. But you cannot create single file traffic in 2-lane traffic and expect ambulances and public services to get down that road without causing massive disruption.
Of course.
And what is quite galling about this is they did a lot of it during COVID, when people didn't know people didn't know what was going, and they didn't consult people like they said they would. You're right. In my borough, they did, and so consequently, in Hillingdon and Uxbridge, it hasn't been as bad as in other boroughs because of that. Because they did consult, and they said, no, not here, thank you very much, or certainly not in the way that you're pretending you're potentially doing it, and it's down to virtue signalling of people in power who just want to seem to be doing the right thing, and in doing so, they are causing a complete mess of everything. And I'd hate to see the stats on how many people didn't get to A&E on time because they were stuck in a one lane that was a 2-lane, that then there was too much traffic. Not to mention all the small businesses, that don't get business as a result. No, the trouble is, what we have, John, here is a situation where civil servants, and there's a lot of hard-working civil servants, but a lot of civil servants haven't really worked in the private sector, and they don't really understand the commerciality of what they're doing. So they think they're doing what the public want. They think they're doing what the voters want. They think they're doing a good thing. But what they don't consider is all the businesses they're destroying, the safety aspect of it, and the tremendous... Actually, I think they've made the air quality worse in some areas because people are stuck in traffic all the time. And you can't get around. And it's nonsense. It really is. It's so badly handled.
Okay, another issue is the ULEZ, obviously, that was brought in.
Yeah.
What are your views on this in how it affects Londoners and people travelling into London? Is the travel network able to cope with the extra demand, especially as from mid-January to May, the Bank branch of Northern Line is going to be closed for essential works, and possible strike by tube drivers over night-time opening of certain lines?
Well, it's another damning indictment of the people that are supposed to be running this great city of ours, that they haven't taken into account all of those things. I mean, how long did it take you to do that research, to find that out, John?
Yeah, no, it wasn't very well known about the Northern Line. I had to really look into it.
But you're not a councillor, are you?
Not
yet. You will be soon. With the amount of research you do, you will be soon. And I would just say, for all the constituencies of Bermondsey and
Bermondsey and Southwark.
Bermondsey and Southwark, you've got a great councillor in the making here. So do vote for him. And what is astonishing is that we're doing all this ULEF and LTNs, and we're taking all this action, and then we're closing down the infrastructure that is going to get people who want to use public transport to the places they want to get to, but there is no public transport to get them there. So, where are we going with this? What you need to do is vote this guy in so it doesn't happen like this in the future.
Okay, another campaign I've been highlighting is the cladding scandal. Now, we were doing it way before the other parties. They just seem to have joined the bandwagon lately, haven't they, really?
Yeah.
Now, an experienced MP like Michael Gove has been placed in charge of this area. Do you think this solution will be resolved any quicker, or do you think the best solution is what the Reform Party have proposed? We're the only party with a clear solution, which is in 3 parts. I'm going to read it out for you here.
Okay.
A long-term funding and warranty solution. A guarantee that leaseholders don't pay for cladding and fire safety related items, and the polluter pays, i.e. the industry. Yeah.
Actually, maybe we should hold that up to camera, because the interesting thing about those 3 points there is that sometimes we get the Jive Reform that we're a little bit right of centre. We're not as inclusive as we could be. And John's just read out there 3 things that are incredibly inclusive and looking after the working class and the lower income families. And for me, as a one-time Labour voter and a one-time Tory voter, that's the party I wanted to be part of. I wanted to be part of an inclusive party, not left or right or too central. Common sense. And I think that the long-term funding and warranty solution, great idea. A guarantee that leaseholders don't pay for cladding and fire safety related items, sensible. And the polluter pays. Of course they should. Of course the company should pay if they're polluting the environment. And that's the same with our tax policies. Sorry, I don't know if you're going to mention that, were you?
Yeah, I mean, apparently the Fire Brigade Union have said that have done a report. They've published a report in the paper blaming the developers for this cladding scandal, that they've deliberately put these fire safety things in.
Yeah. Well, worse than that, John. On the 5 o'clock BBC Radio 4. What's that programme called? current affairs, Radio 4, 5 o'clock, everyone knows it.
Yeah.
They had a fire chief on there saying that of the new builds in London today,
Yeah.
or maybe in the country, might have been London and the rest of the country, 60% were coming through without the requisite precautionary and exacting requirements to stop what happened at Grenfell. 60% are not coming through as the regulations stand, and that was either Monday or Tuesday of this week or the end of last week. We can cross-reference that if everybody wants to.
I mean, to be honest with you, it's a nonsense really about the height of someone's building making a difference whether they get funding or not.
Of course it is.
18 metres, is that something that's made up? I don't know.
You know,
Ridiculous.
exactly.
You think about there's a building about over 18 metres, they're going to get funding, and your neighbour in the next building
doesn't get funding.
below
So
8 and
he
gets
catches
nothing.
fire.
Yeah.
So he catches fire, or she catches fire. They all get smoke inhalation or worse, and then they set fire to your building.
It doesn't make no
Ludicrous.
sense whatsoever. That
Ludicrous.
height of building should have nothing to do with it. It's a nonsense.
It is a complete nonsense, and that's why Reform are going to take care of it.
Okay, the Health Secretary has recently announced that not only care home staff, but now NHS staff face losing their jobs if they're not double jabbed. Giving staff levels are already at breaking point, as well as the difficulty in getting NHS staff from moving to private healthcare. Surely this can only end in disaster for hospitals and patients. How long before they go after people in other professions?
Well, exactly. The forced vaccination of people, because that's what it is. It's you're force vaccinating people. People say, well, you're not, holding them down and putting a needle in their arm, but you're doing the next best thing, which is taking their livelihood away from them. And I never thought I would live in a country where they force people to take medication. We're in 2021, and it feels like 1984, the book, that is, by Aldous Huxley, that we're actually saying to people, you have got to be injected with an experimental drug. Never thought I'd ever see that happening in this country. So yes, it's wrong. And again, think it through. So most people actually have had vaccination in the NHS. I think it's 80,000 or 90,000 that don't want it, and they should be allowed not to have it. That's it. Yes, the virus exists. Yes, it can kill people, but it's not up to the government to tell people to get vaccinated. That's not what the government is here to do.
I mean, you've got other countries like Austria now have got even more draconian measures, i.e., lockdown for people that are unvaccinated. I think
it's kind of scary, actually,
Yeah.
that we're getting to that point where the government is able, through technology and through fear, because let's face it, a lot of the campaigns that they've run have been based around fear. I see people walking around in open parks like this, beautiful park that it is, with masks on. Now, the only reason they're doing that is not because, there's anything wrong with them, but they're scared. And the government has successfully terrified so many people. And hopefully they're Reform voters, and we'll stop them from being scared in the future, because that's what the government have done. They've scared people.
Yeah, we certainly don't want that,
No, it's unacceptable.
I understand you want to share with the viewers what you experienced after your jabs. What message would you give to viewers still deliberating over whether to have the jab?
Okay, so let me briefly tell you what happened to me. Is that I had a TIA, which is a minor stroke. Okay, I'm 59 years old. Prior to having that stroke, 5 weeks prior to having it, I'd run a marathon, a whole marathon, 4 hours, 7 minutes. Okay, it was very mild, and I went back for further tests and was told, because they didn't even know at the time it was TIA. So I said, look, I'm not a smoker, I'm not a drinker, I'm not obese, I don't have any congenital history, no family history of strokes. I don't have high blood pressure. I don't have high cholesterol. I'm not in any of the high-risk categories. Why have I had this TIA? And the consultant said, we'll file a yellow form report if you want. And I said, I don't understand, what is that? And it's the MHRA, the Medical Health Regulatory Authority. They file a yellow form report if you're an anomaly to the vaccine. Because I said, is it AstraZeneca? Is it the vaccine? And he said, I can't tell you that, and I don't know if we'll ever be able to tell you that, which is worrying as well. Yeah. So, two things there. First of all, of course, I want it filed as an anomaly. And the second thing is, I tried to go on the MHRA website recently to check the number of anomalies. When I had mine, there were over 190,000 anomalies. That was 4 months ago. Okay, they're not all TIAs. Some are deaths, actually. There were about 12 deaths at the time that were, they couldn't ascribe or say what the reason was. And now, if you go on the site, they've changed the whole structure of the site. So you can't actually work out where the anomalies are unless you are really good at analysing government websites and statistics. And yes, my A-level in stats was a long time ago now, and I can't easily find it. I mean, if I spent half an hour, 45 minutes trying to look for how many anomalies there are, and no doubt some of the viewers might be able to find that out for me, better than me at navigating around these sites, but they've changed the site. They've definitely changed the site in the last 4 months. So my advice to people is do what you think is best for you. Not what the government tell you, but what you think is best for you.
Okay, I'd just like to add that my father had both the flu and booster jab at the same time. Even though he has underlying health conditions, like irregular heartbeat, undiagnosed dementia. He's still in hospital now, 3 weeks later, and looks like he might never recover fully.
Oh, that's terrible. That's awful.
So I'd like to say to viewers, please think carefully of whether to have both jabs at the same time, especially if you've had other health problems. I don't want anyone else to go through what myself and my family are going through at this time.
Sorry to hear that.
Okay. What other thing have you got there? Low tax?
Oh yeah, no. Let's quickly say that. I think this is such an important part of reform for me as a entrepreneur and businessman. Is that we're going to free up 6 million people from income tax by lifting the minimum threshold from 12,500 to 20,000. This is going to benefit 1 in 5 taxpayers. The basic rate income tax stays at 20%. And nurses, as a result of this policy, will get a 6% pay increase, as against what the government first mooted, which is 1%. So it's going to help the lower paid, again, the lower income families. So it blows out of the water this idea that we're only here to help the well-off. We're certainly not. We're going to raise the threshold of tax from 50,000 to 70,000, flat rate 40%, and then capital gains tax, but also 1.2 million SMEs are going to move out of paying corporation tax. And on top of all that, we're going to reduce the 20,000 pages of tax legislation down to a more manageable, simplified version. So low tax, high growth.
Excellent. Anything else you want to add?
Come and help us. Come and help us change British politics for good.
Yep. Thank you very much. Like and share as usual. Hope you enjoyed the show, and I look forward to seeing you at the next show.
Thanks very much, John.
Thank you very much, Anthony. Thank you for your time.
Really enjoyed it.